We need to have an idea of what a successful retirement is going to look like for you. I've got some clients that want to work until the day they die. Retirement doesn't exist. I've got others who want to step away from the grind of what they're doing and volunteer their time at a hospital, to volunteer at the library, to help others. And that's great. We got to have a plan. We got to know, okay, to make that happen, here's what we got to do. So when they keep that end goal in mind, identify what's going to put wind in their sails when they're in their 60s, in their 70s. Then you start to have a better understanding of, okay, journey of 1,000 steps. You got to start somewhere and get excited about what they are heading toward.
All right, welcome to the Forbes podcast. I have with me John Forbes from Forbes Financial in Carbondale, and today we're talking about the past and the future and what 2025 has to hold for us. For so many people, they get to the end of the year and they're kind of in that mode of like setting New Year's resolutions and kind of wishing and wanting that they had already accomplished some things. But it's so important for us to kind of take that moment to reflect at the end of the year of all of the things that have gone well, all of the things that matter to us and how lucky we are. John, why do you encourage your clients or just even friends and family to take a moment to reflect this time of year?
Nick, it's a great time. It lends itself to remembering what is important. For many of us, I hope, the holiday season is a chance to get together with family and friends. And what better time than to take those moments to reflect on the goodness and the greatness that the year had. It's so easy to get caught up in the negativity, but it certainly bodes well for you when you take some time to reflect on the good stuff. You're talking about the past and the present. It made me think of Ebenezer Scrooge. He goes to Christmas past and Christmas future and present. And even if Ebenezer Scrooge can take some time to reflect, maybe we should too.
For somebody who is kind of reflecting, especially kind of in the context of your world, right? Their financial situation and things like that, what matters to them as they kind of, either approach retirement or think about retirement, what advice do you give them about how to reflect on the year? What matters? What should they be thinking of? What are some of the things that maybe they're overlooking?
The first thing you have to do is prioritize and what truly is important to you. Your last breath isn't going to be spent asking to see your most recent quarterly statement on your portfolio. I hope not, at least. So if we take this time, and certainly finances are important, very important, but the finances exist to serve a bigger purpose. Try to get people to identify what the bigger purpose is first and celebrate and build around that.
Do you have any client stories or, kind of interactions, especially like as you kind of think over the course of like your years and all of the interactions of like, maybe somebody who had a really like vision of what's important before they really paused to reflect on it? And again, I know you can't name names here, but do you have kind of like those magical moments of like interacting with people where they get to accomplish something that is really important to them and they kind of reflect back on it and realize that like what they were worried about going into their retirement or how much money they need wasn't a magical number. It was something else altogether. And we're really on this like Ebenezer Scrooge journey, aren't we? I didn't plan that.
A recurring theme is generosity. I've got a lot of clients, some due to health issues. They had a health scare, and the health scare helped them to realize, why am I hanging on to this much money? Why do I need this? I know my grandkids could use this right now. And just recently I had a client very, very generously surprised her 12 grandkids with a sum of money that would certainly make a difference in most people's lives. And the excitement that she had in surprising them with it made my day. I mean, it was just fun to be a part of and see her letting go and not caring about what the statement says. It's what her heart says. And that was a tremendous thing to experience with her and with those grandkids.
On your deathbed at the end of your life, you're not going to be, you're like, John, what's my balance?
Yeah.
That's not going to be what it is. So like when somebody's kind of early in their financial journey, what advice would you give them to focus on? Because retirement is so important and it's so intimidating for so many people, but having all the money in the world doesn't matter if you have no one to share it with, if you no one there for you.
It can sound like a broken record, but to be successful financially, it starts with determination and intentionality. You have to not just talk about it, you have to do it. And one of the easiest ways to do it is to start regularly contributing to your retirement plan at work. And one of the biggest mistakes I see people make, even people that think they're on a decent track, matching contributions from an employer is nice, that's good. But the matching contribution shouldn't be where you peak out with what you're contributing. And it can be overwhelming to realize that for most people, you probably need to set back between your contribution and the employer match. You probably need to be setting back about 12 to 15% per year. And that's if you start on time. Many people, they're 5, 10, 15 years into a career, and maybe they've been able to save some or put some money in, or life threw them a curve and they had to cash something out. But you can start the new year fresh, and you can start by being intentional about making contributions to your retirement plan at work. Don't just say, well, I'm going to put in 3% because they put in 3%. That's nice, that's good, but you need to have a plan to ramp up to that 12% as quickly as you can. So maybe you start the year at 6% and the employer puts in 3%. And then the plan is, okay, in July, I'm going to bump that to 7%. And then next year, I'm going to bump it up to 8%. And then 6 months later, 9%. And until you get to where you are making serious tracks or making a serious attempt to get on track.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. We're talking about kind of reflecting on the year. One of the questions I have for you is like, at the Forbes office, you get to do so many cool things. You have so many cool interactions. And as you kind of reflect on your own life, and this can be personal and things at the office, are there any things that kind of really jump out at you as some of your favorite moments of 2024 that we can highlight?
Oh, favorite moments is the look on my grandkids' face when we pull in the driveway. That's my favorite moment. And again, I have the good fortune now in the next couple of weeks, the kids that live and grandkids that live 12 hours away are all going to be here within the next month. So that is consistently a sparkle in my eye every time we get to experience that. As far as other highlights, just helping clients transition into retirement. That's one of the things we enjoy, and just providing that kind of peace of mind, and just helping people understand, okay, when you go from accumulation mode to drawing down mode, it can be scary, and you got to have a plan, and to be able to sit down with people and see them transition into that retirement that they always dreamed of. That's a lot of fun. That's been a lot of fun. Quite a bit.
I want to kind of just, draw you back to a conversation that we had a long time ago. And you tell this really incredible story about, I think the phrase that you used was like vapor lock of, coming into an office and being stressed out and, not having joy. And I want you to kind of take a moment to kind of think of whatever that moment was for you, and then compare that to your reflections on 2024. And there has to be a huge sense of pride that comes with the Forbes office and the community that you've built and the team that you have with you and the clients that you get to interact with. When you kind of think about what was that low moment versus like where you're ending 2024, how's that feel?
Well, yeah, to go back to that story, this was probably about 8 or 9 years ago. Pulling in the parking lot of the building that I own with my name on the building, realizing I wasn't happy. I didn't want to go in. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go to work. I didn't want to do what I'd been doing. It forced me to kind of to reevaluate what we did, and better yet, to ask why we do it. When you start with that why and kind of figure out why you do what you do, and then how do you want to do it, and then what you do is kind of incidental. If I were one of my clients, how would I want to be treated? And what would I want that experience to look like and feel like? We literally took every standard conception of what I'd been taught for years and years and years about, how to have a successful financial practice, and we literally turned it upside down and just say, okay, we're not to steal a T Swift line, but we're going to be the anti-hero. We're going to be just the exact opposite of what they say. It used to be if you could have a big client event with 80 clients eating nasty warmed up chicken at a restaurant, that was supposedly a successful event. We said, no, we won't do 80. We want to have 5 or 6 couples come to the office, or 10, 15, 12, 20, at the most 20 people. And let's just have a glass of wine and talk and laugh and share and learn about our clients and learn about what's going on in their lives. And we kind of went crazy with it. And we now do 20 to 30 social events a year. And it's not, I mean, I guess I like to be social, but it's so we can hang out with our friends who are, in many cases, 20, 30-year clients. So to hang out with them and get to know what's going on in their lives and be able to celebrate and in some instances cry with them when it's tough. Just building those types of relationships all really started sitting in my parking lot saying, I don't want to go in here anymore. So yeah, when I look back at that and I see where the practice is now, the fun we have doing what we do, I'm thankful for that parking lot moment.
It makes all the difference, and I love to kind of juxtapose and for maybe somebody who's watching who doesn't have a lot of experience in the financial advisor world or something like that, and most people have one financial advisor their entire life, and they don't know any different. But what does a typical financial advisor relationship look like? A textbook one compared to what you guys do. Can you just illustrate the differences really quickly for somebody who might not know?
What advisors are trained to do in most instances, or were trained to do at least. You have either semi-annual or quarterly meetings with your client. There's lots of graphs and charts and all kinds of documentation to show to impress the client with your knowledge. I think of it as kind of like the dentist office model. You go to the dentist twice a year. It's an awkward conversation. You get a toothbrush and some toothpaste, and you walk out and you dread having to come back in 6 months later and get your teeth flossed for the first time in 6 months again. So it's that kind of awkward interaction, and we wanted it to be different. We wanted to let clients know, hey, if you're out and about, we want to be, like Starbucks always talked about being the third place, work, home, and Starbucks. And we kind of adopted that mindset literally and just said, if you're ever out and about, swing by for a cup of coffee. And everyone on my team knows if a client comes over for a cup of coffee, take 15, 20 minutes out of your day and spend it with them. It will not harm or hamper our productivity one bit to spend good time. And many times clients don't know this, but many times when they come and have that cup of coffee, they put wind in our sails. It's fun getting to see them and talk to them and catch up on life and what's going on. So we really, Nick, I just drew a total blank. What was I even talking about?
Well, you're talking about, the people being able to come in and have those sort of moments of connection,
Yeah. Yeah.
How is this so different than what is the I don't know, generic expectation of a financial advisor office?
Yeah. Get back to the dentist office model where it's
you need an appointment in most places. Stopping by for a cup of coffee isn't even an option.
No.
Not to mention, why would you stop by and have a cup of coffee with your financial advisor? That's a crazy thought. You don't want to hang out with that guy.
If I'm being honest, I think they want to hang out with my team members more than they want to hang out with me. But that's fine. That's fine too. We enjoy that, but we want it to be a relational experience. Compared to the dental model, it's almost more of a pastoral model. We want to be able to love on people and to encourage them well, and remind them of what's important and remind them about why it's important, and try to be an antidote to some of the negativity that's out there, especially in financial media and the media in general.
It literally could not be a better transition here. And then we're kind of talking about, reflecting on 2024 and setting intentions for 2025. As we kind of look ahead, for anyone in your world, what are some of the best ways for them to start setting intentions that align with what really matters for them? And whether that's New Year's resolutions or financial goals or retirement goals, how can they be more intentional about starting that process, and why should they do it?
Well, I tell you one thing. There's a guy out there I saw speak at an event. Jesse Itzler. He's a ball of energy if ever there was one, and he shares some ideas that we've kind of started adopting. Basically, you got to get excited about being alive. You got to get excited being vertical. His plan and his idea is you set one insanely audacious goal a year. And you literally stick it in the calendar and put it on there, and that's the thing you're going to work for or work toward in the coming year. And then on top of that, once you have that, he says he likes to do 6 times a year, every other month. Take a weekend and do something you normally wouldn't do. So it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to involve airfare. It can, but it might be going on just a weekend getaway, a long weekend at a local resort or something. Just find something that you normally, besides sitting watching TV or mowing the yard or whatever it is you might do, find 6 weekends where you plan something kind of fun and special. And his premise is this: if you just do those 2 things alone, 10 years from now, you will have done 10 amazing things that you probably wouldn't have done, and you will have experienced 60 experiences you normally wouldn't have experienced. So the cumulative effect of doing that is it gets you excited about why you're doing. You got something to look forward to regularly, and something a goal to strive for. It's a neat model to adopt.
I love that answer so much, because literally right behind me on the floor that is just out of screen, I have the big wall calendar of his, because I absolutely love, again, it's his lease on life, right? It's like that energy that he brings that is just so contagious. So let's set some intentions here, right? As we're talking about people who might be, interacting in your world, right? Somebody who's out there. What challenge could you issue them? One, let's say like a kind of a prescription from general financial, direction. Like what's one thing that could be a goal for 2025 for them in that world? And then one for like just the happiness and joy. If you just had to give advice to the world in those 2 categories, what would they be?
Most households are way too comfortable with unsecured debt. So if you wanted to set a big, audacious goal, for some, it might be, we're going to pay off all the credit cards. We're going to pay off some student loans. And you make a list of stuff you owe. And, sometimes not sometimes, all the time, that is a higher priority than even saving. Because if you got money on a credit card that's carrying a 20-something% interest rate, every dollar you apply toward that credit card is making you 26%. I can do pretty good in the market. I can't do that good. So getting debt under control and being intentional about it is huge. And there's so many benefits that come from that. Just simply, if you commit and you're paying an extra $500 or $600 a month on debt, and you're getting aggressive with it, when you get it paid off, you got $500 or $600 a month that you can turn around now and start investing. It serves so many different purposes. And if you set aside a chunk of money like that, you're going to have to change the lifestyle a little bit. And so again, it builds on itself so quickly if you can just be intentional about making that a decision and making that a priority and sacrificing whatever you got to sacrifice to make that happen. As far as one big goal, I've got a goal for 2025. For anybody that knows me, they know I'm a Seattle Seahawk football fan. A goal that I have for 2025 is I want to kick a 30-yard field goal in the home football stadium where the Seattle Seahawks play football. And in order to make that happen, it's going to take a lot of working and finding and identifying people that can get me in the stadium. Not on a game day. I want to go to the game on Sunday, but maybe that Thursday before, I want to kick a 30-yard field goal. And I want to do this, and I want to raise money for children's cancer research. I've got a couple of good friends of mine who've had daughters both battle cancer in recent years and still battling cancer. So to find a way to raise some money gets me excited, and to find a challenge, because in order to do that, I got to work out. I got to get in shape. I got to go kick a few hundred footballs to kind of get in shape and in gear to be able to do that. So that one big goal has so many other things that it affects. And I suspect if I'm excited about that and I'm intentional about that and I'm pursuing that, I'm probably going to be a little bit nicer guy to be around at the office. And I'm probably going to be a better husband and a better dad and a better pops. So there's so many benefits to setting that one crazy, insane goal. And it may not happen, but if I happen to work out and I happen to raise some money for, maybe I end up kicking it at the stadium here at Carbondale, SIU. I don't know, but I want to dream big, crazy big, and see where it goes.
I love that so much, because as soon as you said that, I was like, man, I don't know if I could kick a 30-yard field goal. Like I have no idea what my ability is in that realm at all. I can't remember the last time I tried to kick a football. What do you think your odds are if you had to go out and kick a field goal from 30 yards right now? If that opportunity was today, you think you could do it?
Right now, I would look like Charlie Brown. It would be a train wreck. I'm going to reach out to some coaches that I know and find out, hey, could you spend some time with me? Could you help me out with this? And get some people on board. And I think the more people we can get on board, the more exciting it could be.
Oh, that is such a cool goal. And coming back to just calendar here and sort of the idea, I think that's such a good illustration of like having this big, crazy, audacious goal that is worth every morning getting out of bed and being excited about it. And if you don't do it this year, next year, and if you don't do it next year, the year after, who cares if it takes 10 years? If the goal is worth it, it's going to keep that motivation. I love taking that and kind of transitioning it to any of our listeners too. I found this for myself. If you set that goal of like, oh, my goal is to lose 5 pounds this year, that goal isn't very motivating. If my goal is to, pay down a little bit of credit card debt and is ambiguous, like that doesn't change anything. There's nothing to like wake up in the morning and be excited about. And so I love that. And that's something that's such a good reminder for all of us to, if the goal isn't big enough, if it's not exciting enough, you're not going to pursue it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You kind of referenced like a core tenet of like, kind of making a big improvement is like, even in the context of this goal, if for somebody who's struggling with credit card debt, what if you woke up tomorrow morning or woke up at the end of this year and you would have accomplished getting completely out of credit card debt? You have zero bad debt at the end of the year. How would you physically feel, emotionally feel? When you kind of look, how people, at different places of their financial journey, look at that shift to like really focusing on what matters the most and like getting out of debt and setting good intentions. What does the end goal look like for them? When they're trying to be intentional about that big dream, is it trying to imagine what you want your retirement to look like or what's going to be most important when you get to that? How does somebody visualize that and then set a goal based on that process?
You have to know your situation. You have to know, a lot of people haven't even gone on to the ssa.gov website to look and see, hey, what's Social Security going to look like for me, assuming it's still functioning by then, and start to figure out what does it cost to be me. To your point, saying, okay, I'm going to put 6% in my retirement account. Well, that's okay. That's good. That's very good. But we need to have an idea of what a successful retirement is going to look like for you. I've got some clients that want to work until the day they die. Retirement doesn't exist. I've got others who want to step away from the grind of what they're doing and volunteer their time at a hospital, to volunteer at the library, to help others. And that's great. We got to have a plan. We got to know, okay, to make that happen, here's what we got to do. So when they keep that end goal in mind, identify what's going to put wind in their sails when they're in their 60s, in their 70s. Then you start to have a better understanding of, okay, journey of 1,000 steps. You got to start somewhere and get excited about what they are heading toward.
I love that. As we're kind of looking at forward into 2025, kind of speaking of you and your world, community building is so important to you. You've built an amazing community of people, through your network from Forbes and, beyond that even. What can the people in your world look forward to in 2025? You got any big exciting plans you can kind of tease out for the coming year?
Well, I can tease a little bit.
Other than kicking a field goal at the Seahawks?
Well, as far as Forbes Financial goes, We've got some things in the works. I can say we're probably going to get a little bigger. There's going to be a new face or two in the not too distant future. I'm not sure I want to let this out now. I'll say it and we can figure out if we want to get it out there or not. I have surprised myself. I've reached the point where I know in order to do what we want to do for the next decade, we need a little bit more space. And so I've been looking at properties in Carbondale and looking to move into something a little bit bigger. I've got my eyes set on something specific, and we'll see if it pans out.
Oh, that's so exciting. Maybe these aren't concrete plans yet, but do you have any special events or get-togethers, things that you did in 2024 that you're definitely going to do again, things that you're looking at possibly doing as far as events?
Yeah. If you'd have told me this 7 years ago, I wouldn't have believed you. But one of the things our clients enjoy more than anything is our potlucks. We do potlucks. If you'd have told me, I'm going to tell some of my top clients, hey, I want you to come to my office. I want you to bring food. I never, ever would have believed it. But we are really enjoying those potlucks. Through that process, we're going to be gathering recipes. And our hope is by year end to have enough that we can put together a little cookbook.
Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah, so that's...
Plus, it's a bonus. It hits one of our F words, food.
Yeah. Food, family, fun. It covers a lot of them. So we are definitely looking forward to that. We like to do a couple of hikes a year, nature hikes. And whether it's our friends out at Department of Natural Resources or we've got some clients that love to hike, they do guided. We have these guided tours, and those are always fun. We like to do that. And we're always looking for new ideas. An idea that we're kicking around right now that I think we're going to do. We get so accustomed to having these amazing orchards in our region. I think most people, including myself, would be absolutely mind boggled if we knew what happened behind the scenes. And we want to schedule a kind of a behind the scenes tour of one of these local orchards when the season kicks in. Another thing that I love to do, I'm in a group of guys, we make wine. We really have fun with that. We'll make 4 different wines a year, and one is fantastic. One I would serve to my friends. I'd go to a restaurant and order it. A couple are usually good, and then one is a cooking wine. you kind of throw that in when you're cooking, but it would be neat to possibly do some kind of behind the scenes winery. Clients can see how wine gets made. So, and we would do this in groups of 12, 15, 20 people, but instead of just having a wine tasting, I want to go find somebody that's making wine and let's see how they do it. So those are the kinds of things we're looking at for 2025 that we haven't done before.
With everything going on kind of in the news, you kind of reference this. It's like the news can be crazy, right? The news on the election or the news on some policy that's changing. What advice would you give to someone who's maybe looking at 2025 and feeling uncertain about the future? What advice would you give them?
My first piece of advice would be to take a 30-day news fast from whatever you're consuming. Take a 30-day news fast and just see if you feel a little lighter in your step, a little bit, the sky might be a little bluer. Just see what happens, because the media that we're consuming, whether it's on your phone, laptop, television, whatever it is, they generally know that fear sells. Fear gets attention. And when you're sitting in front of that for too long, it's just a constant stream of fear. Whether you're leaning right or left, politically doesn't matter. You can find a source of news that will throw red meat at you and get you all fired up about whatever their crisis of the day is. So sometimes, and I've had clients take me up on this, the 30-day news fast, just see how that changes your perspective. I would say I don't know of any year ever where there isn't uncertainty when you head into it. It's not always these extreme things, but there's not a lot of certainty in it. The only thing that's certain is you're never going to be as young as you are today, ever again. If we keep that mindset and get excited about pursuing something worthy of our breath, getting up in the morning and going after it, if we get that mindset adopted quickly, it realigns priorities. It does so many things. And I think that if we know that every year, I hate to say it's a crapshoot, but it's kind of a crapshoot. I mean, that's what it is. Every year is that. And I do know that the person that will have the most influence on whether you experience joy in the upcoming year or not is the one you see in the mirror every morning when you're brushing your teeth. So if you can get that person excited, it'd be pretty neat to see what happens.
I love it. You have shared a couple ideas with me, as we've talked over the years, of the small things adding up to really big things, right? This like getting 1% better. What are some simple habits as people kind of look towards 2025? What are some simple ways that people can kind of focus on little things making a big difference?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it can sometimes sound so mundane, but no one hops in a car and takes off for vacation without knowing where they're going. You don't just get in the car and start driving, and when you use up half the budget, turn around and start heading back. Nobody does that. You plan out where you want to go, where you're going to stay, how you're going to get there. A great starting point is just identifying a year from now, when I'm sitting here with this cup of coffee, what do I want to say I accomplished? And you've got to be intentional about what you want to accomplish. And most of us know what to do to accomplish something. And we also know, if we don't know, ask. You can ask somebody. You can Google it. There's plenty of information. There's plenty of data out there to help you about anything. But you have to be intentional about what do I want to say I accomplished, and back into what it takes to get there. And again, it sounds kind of boring, but it's absolutely crucial that you have a mindset of I'm going to succeed. I'm going to accomplish X. And it's got to be something that really gets you excited about the thought of pursuing it.
I like that. And John, I can't tell you how like I am already cheering you on to kick that field goal, in the Seahawks, home territory there. That would be so amazing. You're doing it for a great cause. I hope that everybody who listens to this, has something that jumps in their head of something that is that big of a goal that will put some spring in their step and get them excited about every day. That's such a cool idea. Highly recommend Jesse Eisler and checking him out. I think that's wonderful. We were talking about a book right before we jumped on. You kind of mentioned as far as some things that were impactful for you. What was that?
Yeah, no. At Thanksgiving, as a family, we sat down and decided that we're going to create a family book club. And there were Karen and I, and then we got three daughters and a son-in-law, and we all wrote down a book that we wanted to read this year, and we folded them up, we threw it in a hat. And then we drew out the books and as far as the order that we were going to read them. And the first book we're going to start with in January, we give ourselves 2 months to get through each book. But the first book is James Clear's Atomic Habits. And it's a book that my wife, actually, that was her choice. It was going to be my second choice, but we could only pick one. So I got lucky that her choice was one I love. We had both read that a couple years back, and we're really inspired by it. We thought the kids would probably get a kick out of that too. So that's our first book, 1984 by George Orwell. That's one of the daughters picked that one. And it doesn't have to be just self-help type books, but yeah. So at the end of the year, we will have read 6 books that most of us would never have probably picked out on our own.
I like that. I love your intentionality. I love the way that you build community. I can't tell you thank you enough for taking the time to share this with me. I hope that everybody out there is planning for an incredible 2025 and reflecting on all of the things that they have to be grateful for. John, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Dick.
Security and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA, SIPC. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. Individual tax or legal matters should be discussed with your tax or legal professional. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful. All performance reference is historical and no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. There is no assurance that the techniques and strategies discussed are suitable for all investors or will yield positive outcomes. The purchase of certain securities may be required to affect some of the strategies. Investing involves risk, including the possible loss of principal.